Our next presenter is Lillian Williamson. And yeah, I gotta take a deep breath now because Lillian's accolades are long.
Yeah.
Lillian is a double major in environmental studies and political science, graduating in spring of 2023. Lillian is the 2023 College of the Environment's undergraduate Dean's Medalist. Lillian is also the 2022-2023 Student Body Vice President. Lillian is also president of the UW Young Democrats and managing editor of the Historical Review. Lillian is the Husky Union Hall of Fame awardee and 2022 Husky 100 winner. And after graduating this quarter, Lillian will be embarking on a Fulbright grant to Spain to teach in public high schools and work in environmental policy before returning to the United States to go to law school. That's it, though. The title of Lillian's talk, Talking Trash, Intersections Between Technology, Waste Management, and the Transition to Zero Waste Economy. Lillian's host organization was Perennial Zero Consulting, where she worked with Hannah Johnson and Anna Wilson. And Lillian's faculty advisor was our very own Christy Strauss from the UW program on the environment. Let's give it up for Lillian.
Can you all hear me? Great. In 2023, the average American produced 5 pounds of trash every single day. And most of it looks like that. Lots of plastics, lots of single-use packaging, and lots of food waste. My capstone project focused on garbage just like that Americans produce every day, what actually happens to it, and how we can go about producing less. So let's talk trash. For my capstone project, I interned with Perennial Zero Waste, which is a zero waste consulting agency. And throughout that, we performed a lot of waste audits. This is a picture from one in rural Arizona that we did. So waste audits are basically a fancy term for scientifically minded dumpster diving. And as you can see, it can sometimes get pretty nasty. But basically in a waste audit, we take everything out of a dumpster that's slated to go to a landfill. We sort it into 3 categories: compostables, recyclables, and trash. Then we weigh those 3 things and we figure out what proportion of the materials that were going to be sent to the landfill could actually be recycled or composted instead. In this waste audit, we found that more than half of what was in the dumpsters could have actually been recycled or composted. This is a statistic that holds true throughout America. Even though we only end up recycling 32% of the trash we produce, we could be recycling 50% of it. And so Americans are pretty trash at recycling. So how can we get better? This is what my capstone project focused on. So my capstone question was, how can we use technology to improve waste management and recycling? In order to answer this research question, I conducted interviews with people who use waste tech in their day-to-day. And I also did a literature review in addition to using a lot of the tech myself. And I came across a lot of great pieces of technology. This is one of my favorites. It's from this company called Compology, and they will give you a camera that you can stick on the inside of your dumpster that uses artificial intelligence technology in order to tell you how to improve, to reduce the amount of waste that's going into your dumpster. In addition, I found a shocking amount of waste sorting robots, including this one from a recycling plant outside of Roanoke, Virginia. It's twice as efficient as people at sorting waste, but they're so expensive and not really in common use yet. And so even though I was looking at all of these amazing technologies, I kind of began to wonder, can technology really save us all from the waste problem? We produce so much waste in America and so little of it is recycled as it is. And recycling in and of itself is not a perfect process. It is energy inefficient and it's very expensive. And even now, the vast majority of our waste still ends up going to landfills like that. And they are horrible for the environment. They can poison soils and water and make people and animals in their vicinity incredibly, incredibly ill. At the rate we're going in Western societies, we're getting closer and closer every day to more parts of our planet looking like the uninhabitable waste-filled zones from the movie WALL-E. And so when it comes to reducing this and preventing this problem, the waste management industry has kind of taken the approach that of kicking it down the line, essentially. So the status quo in the waste management industry right now is that we can just produce a lot of waste and then figure out what happens to it later. So I kind of came to the radical conclusion throughout all this. What if we just produce less garbage? This may seem like a simple solution, but it is a radical one, apparently. So let's take a look at the way our current economy functions. It's a linear economy. So in this economic system, we take stuff from the environment, we use it to make consumer goods, and then we waste a lot of them or just throw them away. But many experts are now suggesting that we transition to a circular economy. In this economic system, We still take stuff from the environment and use it to make consumer goods, but we really put the emphasis on reusing them instead of just chucking them the second we're done with them. So instead of take, make, waste, it ends up being take, make, reuse as much as possible. And this would require a pretty drastic shift to the way we run a lot of stuff, including we would have to reduce food waste and food packaging waste as well, and single-use packaging as a whole. So as an example, clothes that you would get in a linear economy, like from a store Shein, are meant to wear out after you wear them 1 or 2 times so that you throw them away and then buy more. Whereas clothes in a circular economy are meant to last for years, if not decades. But this may seem like a daunting economic shift. So there are 3 big things that we can do to get us there. Thing number 1 is government regulations. Our government needs to better regulate the worst waste producers to ensure that they're meeting current targets and even more optimistic ones. Secondly, we need to shift the burden of paying for recycling from individual people to the corporations that are actually doing the damage. So this can involve something known as extended producer responsibility legislation, which makes it more expensive for producers because they have to recycle the waste that they produce. Finally, we in Western societies, especially in the United States, need to actually support currently industrializing nations and encourage them not to make the same mistakes that we have when it comes to waste management. All in all, we as a society need to recognize that we can't out-tech the waste problem and transition to a circular economy before it's too late. Thank you all for talking trash with me today. I'd like to thank my fantastic faculty advisor, Christy Strauss, my amazing site supervisors, Hannah Johnson and Anna Wilson, my fantastic internship partner, Casey Gilson, who was in that picture earlier, and also my dad, John Williamson, for inspiring me to pursue my passions in sustainability. So thanks, y'all.
All right, we have some questions for Lillian.
Yeah.
Thoughts on how to.
Thank you. So the question was if I have any ideas of ways to address recycling fatigue or skepticism among the general public. And that's a great point, especially because a lot of major recycling producers use greenwashing, which is basically a way of like fancy lying about how much they recycle in order to kind of trick people into thinking that they're recycling more than they are. And so naturally, this means that consumers have distrust. The final solution here is for the government to actually better regulate greenwashing and to regulate waste producers so that consumers have good reason to trust in them. But in spite of that, I think kind of the core message that we need to hit to consumers is that it's still better to do something than nothing. But all in all, it still is better to buy less waste than to recycle it. So thank you. Yeah. That's a great question. So the question was, why don't the biggest producers of garbage contribute more towards recycling efforts? Kind of for 2 reasons. I would say reason 1 is that they kind of do, or more accurately, they pretend that they do. So a lot of big corporations will use greenwashing tactics to kind of make it seem like their in-industry recycling programs are more effective than they are. As an example, Nordstrom is kind of doing that right now with their beauty take back project, where they're not actually recycling a lot of the products that they receive. And then the second answer I would give is that it's very expensive for producers to do that. And so the way our economy is set up right now, like I was saying earlier, is that it's far cheaper for producers to just make a bunch of stuff with single-use packaging than it is for them to not be so wasteful. So until our government and our regulations make it more expensive, that's kind of how it's going to be. But great question. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much.